Hi guys. We put out a question answer sticker on Instagram few days back, and there are so many questions. So I am just going to start with one of the most common questions I get. How I started my journey. And honestly, I've spoken about this so many times, but people still keep asking me. So this video, let's just get it out of the way. In short, I started very young at 16, and the main reason was I wanted to earn my own money. I just wanted to be financially independent. I came from a privileged background, so that was not a necessity. Very thankful for that. But I wanted to do something on my own. And when I started, I had no clue what I was doing, where I wanted to go, and forget where life would take me. But I didn't even know what I wanted to do as a career. And my first kind of project just kind of landed in my lap when I was 16. I didn't have any interior design knowledge. What I had was a very, very supportive father, a very, very supportive mother. So they've been my parents have been dealing with contractors all their life. So they kind of guided me through how to do the entire process, and the lingo to speak to them. It wasn't easy. So that happened. After that, I had collected a good amount of money to start off my company. What I really did was worked very hard. So for almost say 6 to 7 years, I was doing very small projects. So I took everything that came my way. I took a small bathroom. I took whatever came my way. And then where you see me is this beautiful luxury office studio that I have, which thankfully God provided me in 2020. We are sitting here in 2025, so we shifted here 5 years back. And since then it's been only upwards. Basically since then we just do luxury projects. That's pretty much about it. I studied from Rachna Sansad, which is in Mumbai. That was the only college I applied to, and I got in there after my 12th standard. So I was studying and working at the same time. In the mornings I used to go to my sites or do my company work. That's 9 to 2, and then from 2 to 8 to or 9 I had college. So pretty much I did this for 3 years, working 12 hours, like on the ground for 12 hours, either working or studying. And that's how I'm here. So this is my entire journey summed up in as short as I could. I can just give you guys 3 tips how do you guys can start your design business. One, take all the work that comes your way. Every work, don't look for profit in the start. Just take all the work that comes your way. Just understand and learn for a few years, and once you learn, then God will always give you the double amount of money in that third year, because that's the kind of experience you have, and that's how smart you've become in your thing. If you do the same thing continuously for 2 years, you've become very smart. Point 2, build your portfolio. Even if it's a small project you've done, photograph everything. This is a major mistake I did at my time. I used to feel this work is not good enough, not great, and I still did photograph a lot of stuff, but not everything. You guys should do it. Photograph everything that you guys do. It makes a very big difference when you're showing someone your portfolio. And in today's day, there's social media, so that's your biggest portfolio, I feel. And point 3, again, I didn't do it much, but keep patience and work hard every day. I didn't do the first part much. I did not have patience. I used to lose myself. I did not trust myself enough. There are days even today where I don't trust myself enough. Don't do that. Remind yourself there's a reason you started, and work hard every day. So these 3 things are the biggest tips I can give you, and I'm sure you guys will get wherever you guys want to after this. I'm going to get into some nice questions. Few of the questions I really liked. So how much do you spend on a daily basis in terms of luxury products, and how big is it a necessity? Okay, very nice question. Point 1, I do not spend a lot or frequently on luxury products. That is something I do not do at all. Is it a necessity? Absolutely not. It is not at all a necessity. First, whenever you're earning, I will say that secure your money in a way where today, if you do not want to be in a situation, you have that kind of money to just get up and leave the situation because you have the finance for that. How I try to do things is I like to spend in places which gives me happiness, in ways of increasing my lifestyle, the way I live on a daily basis, the way my family lives on a daily basis. I have a beautiful luxury car which is bought by myself, and so I spent on that a bomb. I bought that in 2023. So, and that was almost like 10-11 years after, I was working. So that was all, I bought it after that. So anything for me that increases the way your life function or your family's life functions is a good expense. Next question is, how and where do you prefer investing? I don't do stocks. I don't have a portfolio. A lot of my colleagues do, and I think they've done wonders in it. I've never gotten into it. I've not had a sense of liking towards it, so I cannot comment over it. How I like to invest is what I would say. I do have a lot of FDs. I invest a lot of in properties, and I also invest in probably gold. So I feel that is a very good, in all these three are very good investments for me, which give me a lot of return over the years. Even when I'm buying jewelry, I try to buy gold or diamond jewelry rather than some a polki or something of that, so that will not give me a return. Has ever client misbehaved with you and going out of line? How do you handle it? Please tell me, because I have not been able to manage this, which depresses me. So of course a client has misbehaved with me, guys. I just said I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and there's no way a client has not misbehaved with me. Point 1, vendor misbehaving. At the end of the day, the vendor needs you and you need the vendor. This is a very clear story that it works both ways. When I was just starting, I remember a couple of vendors misbehaving with me, and वो बात को almost like I said 10-11 साल हो गए हैं. Till date I have not worked with those vendors. The reason being, because I remember when I was 17 years and I went to him without zero knowledge of hardware or zero knowledge of a tile or what a vitrified tile is, and told him that I was thinking to use this here, and he laughed on me, or he said that this girl doesn't know anything, she's just starting off, and what business will she get to me. Cut to today, where he knows that I am there in the market, I'm getting a lot of business to the market. They want to really work with me. I do not. So this is a part and parcel of the business, that if there's a vendor, you be very nice to them. Do not show them that even if you're underconfident, do not show them you're underconfident. Also, do not be overconfident. Do not misbehave with them. Misbehave with them in a way that you need to be as good as you can to anyone. अगर वो बंदा या if that person is replying to you in a bad way, you still be calm. Be stern. Don't be an idiot. Be stern, but be calm. Once you do that, twice you do that, either that person will change towards you, and if he doesn't, you will know that this is your cue to get out. You do not, in the start of your career, you do not need people who pull you down or make you feel that this entire industry is bad, because it's not. There are really good people here. There are very good vendors here who've been having these businesses for years and years together, and they will help you out. So if you feel that there is any kind of a vendor who's misbehaving with you, just leave. Point 2, keep your documentation for vendors very crisp and clear. Keep your purchase orders and the orders you give to your vendors very crisp and clear. Also those orders with the client very crisp, so that you are not the ones getting sandwiched in between the client and the vendor. Point 2, a contractor misbehaving. Generally contractors misbehave because they feel like a designer has a lot of ego, so before the designer shows me attitude, I'll only show the designer attitude. So this is again a very wrong concept. If the second time or the third time the contractor understands that, oh, this designer or this boy or girl is so nice, so sweet, and still trying to explain to me very nicely, they will always calm down. And if you think that they are not calming down, make sure that you finalize their bill, give them that amount, and tell them to leave your site. Also, be very clear with the contractor, this is not one site. I'm going to be giving you work for multiple sites, because at the end of the day, I need a contractor. If you're going to be good to me, you can do all the sites. If you're not going to be good to me, your loss, you can leave. So be very clear with these contractors, and 80% what I've seen, they come your way. And of course, there are always 20% which are crazy. You don't need them. Don't worry about it. Last, client misbehaving. I have had a very different take over the years on this topic, a very different way of handling it also. Clients do, so of course now clients don't misbehave, because we have a certain type of a clientele that we deal with. It's very rare, or sometimes during an handover if the client is really stressed, something, but generally clients don't. But this was not always my case. I had clients for a good, at least I remember 6 to 7 amount of times, where 7 years, where the clients were just misbehaving for petty things like 500 rupees of extra material on site, or then it started to just like really petty things that used to really upset me, and I used to get really demotivated. What I realized over time is that, firstly, that this is happening with everyone. This is a part of the industry. This cannot be stopped. I took this time to I took years to realize this, that this is a part of the industry. There are some things in every industry which is going to happen no matter what you do. Secondly, I of course build a lot of systems. The more and more work I got, the more and more capital I got to kind of put back into my business and have those kind of employees and that kind of team to really build the kind of system I was thinking. Kind of projects you take, you need to understand the client's mentality. You need to understand where the client is coming from. Have they ever hired an interior designer? Okay. If they have, okay. What kind of an interior designer have they worked with? For them, what does this house mean to them? If, for example, they have a budget in mind, for them every penny is important. So you need to understand this. I also have categorized clients by color in my head. So that's red, yellow, green, blue, 4 types of clients. Let me know if you guys, I don't know if you know about this, but in case you guys are interested, I'll make a separate video out of this. If you feel the client is coming from a way where they have money but they just want to negotiate, so you can be of course very clear that if you want this, you will get this, and if you do not want this in this budget, then you can look for other vendor options, and I can help you doing the design consultation. So that works great. Sometimes you feel that the client, mostly in turnkey execution projects, you feel that the client is just going out of line and misbehaving. During the heat of moment on site, do not react. This is a hack that I have gotten after my years of hard work, not read it anywhere, but it has always worked for me. If the client is overreacting, going out of line, and you know that the client has not done that before. If a client is a regular misbehaving client, then it's a different thing. But if you know that this client has not done this before and is overreacting, do not react. Let the client finish what they're saying completely. Let them calm down in a very calm down manner. Talk to them. Okay, I understand your problems. Now, to solve your problems, what I can give you is either these are the solutions or these are my final bills. You can tell me that, okay, how much do you want a discount from this, keeping in mind all the issues you have faced, and then we can come on a mutual agreement, and then I can leave. These are very 2 clear-cut options that you can explain to your client. You guys have to understand, mostly in home residential projects, the client is very personal. They are very emotional about things. It's more about emotion. So you guys need to really keep your calm, even if the client is losing theirs. That's how I handle my clients. I used to handle my clients. There have been times where I've also lost my cool and been so upset about it, but that's when I realized, I'm like, that's not the way to do it. Understand their problem and then go ahead, because for you it's an everyday thing. It's not one client, there are many clients. If you keep doing this with everyone, there's always going to be a problem, some problem that everyone's going to be facing. You can't be doing this with everyone. And the last question I'm going to be answering, these questions that the team has picked out is so nice, because these are a few of the questions that I have actually had in my mind, and I do speak to my team about this so much that these things are so weird. So this is the question that, how do you find the current Gen Z generation, and do you have anyone working with you in this generation? I'm also not someone very old. I'm 28 years old, and I'm not saying I have a lot of experience in my life. All I'm saying is that these 12 years of the experience I have, that I've become so zen in my life that anything does not give me anger. My instant reaction is a smile, or like like a small laugh. Five to my team members are Gen Zs, and they do a fab job. They've taught me just so many things in my life, in how to do it on social media, how to do things about it, how the sass to have in life. I love it. So that's the answer. Have I faced a lot of Gen Zs being out of line? Oh yes, I have faced so many Gen Zs being out of line. But that does not stop me to not work with Gen Zs. That because I've also seen a lot of Gen Zs being so hardworking. I've had Gen Zs come for interviews, and I've had Gen Zs come for interviews and sit like this and say, like, what's the work. I've had Gen Zs just have a few 3 to 4 years of experience and say, oh, I have this experience, and this is, I'm not even going to pick up a pen which I think is not my job profile. So I've had these kinds of people. I've also had different kinds of vendors who've been Gen Z, and like, I've seen them deal with stressful situations, and they've been completely out of line. Then I've also had really older people, like around 40, 45, 50 years of people, where they have a lot of experience, but they don't know things what my Gen Z girls also know. So they've had ego clashes where they've come up to me and said, ma'am, I'm not going to learn from a 22-year-old. But guess what? The 22-year-old knows things that you don't know, so why not? It's always good to learn. In short, if you asked me one advice to give Gen Z, because I'm assuming you're a Gen Z, would be keep your head low, keep your attitude low, be kind to people, and not just to put it on a Instagram bio. Genuinely be kind to people. Genuinely understand what discipline is. There's a working discipline that needs to be followed. Understand that what the discipline is, and you will be good to go. So for today, because I've spoken so much, and if you guys like this, please let me know. I would love to do these talking videos more, because I love talking. But if there's something to really talk about, and see you guys until next time. Bye bye.